The Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. The Testament of Zebulon, the sixth son of Jacob and Leah. Chapter 1. The copy of the words of Zebulon, which he enjoined on his sons before he died in the 114th year of his life, 2 years after the death of Joseph. And he said to them, Hearken to me, you sons of Zebulon, attend to the words of your father. I, Zebulon, was born a good gift to my parents. For when I was born my father was increased very exceedingly, both in flocks and herds, when with the strict rods he had his portion. I am not aware, my children, that I have sinned all my days, except in my mind. Nor do I remember that I have done any iniquity, except the sin of ignorance which I committed against Joseph, for I covenanted with my brothers not to tell my father what had been done. But I wept in secret many days on account of Joseph, for I feared my brothers, because they had all agreed that if any one should declare the secret, he should be slain. But when they wished to kill him, I adjured them much with tears not to be guilty of this sin. For Simeon and Gad came against Joseph to kill him, and he said unto them with tears, Pity me, my brothers, have mercy upon the bowels of Jacob our father. Lay not upon me your hands to shed innocent blood, for I have not sinned against you. And if indeed I have sinned with chastening, chastise me, my brothers, but lay not upon me your hand for the sake of Jacob our father. And as he spoke these words, wailing as he did so, I was unable to bear his lamentations, and began to weep, and my liver was poured out, and all the substance of my bowels was loosened. And I wept with Joseph, and my heart pounded, and the joints of my body trembled, and I was not able to stand. And when Joseph saw me weeping with him, and them coming against him to slay him, he fled behind me, beseeching them. But meanwhile Reuben arose and said, Come, my brothers, let us not slay him, but let us cast him into one of these dry pits, which our fathers digged, and found no water. For this cause Yahuwah forbade that water should rise up in them, in order that Joseph should be preserved. And Yahuwah did this, until they sold him to the Ishmaelites. For in Joseph's price I had no share, my children. But Simeon and Gad and 6 other of our brethren took the price of Joseph, and bought sandals for themselves, and their wives, and their children, saying, We will not eat of it, for it is the price of our brother's blood, but we will assuredly tread it under foot, because he said that he would be king over us, and so let us see what will become of his dreams. Therefore it is written in the writing of the law of Moses, that whosoever will not raise up seed to his brother, his sandal should be unloosed, and they should spit in his face. And the brothers of Joseph wished not that their brother should live, and Yahuwah loosed from them the sandal which they wore against Joseph their brother. For when they came into Egypt they were unloosed by the servants of Joseph outside the gate, and so they made obeisance to Joseph after the fashion of the Pharaoh. And not only did they make obeisance to him, but were spit upon also, falling down before him forthwith, and so they were put to shame before the Egyptians. For after this the Egyptians heard all the evils that they had done to Joseph. And after they had thrown him into the pit, my brothers sat down to eat and drink. But I, through pity for Joseph, did not eat, but watched the pit, since Judah feared lest Simeon, Dan, and Gad should rush off and slay him. But when they saw that I did not eat, they set me to watch him, till he was sold to the Ishmaelites. And when Reuben came and heard that while he was away Joseph had been sold, he rent his garments, and mourning said, How shall I look on the face of my father Jacob? And he took the money and ran after the merchants, but as he failed to find them he returned grieving. But the merchants had left the broad road, and marched through the troglodytes by a short cut. But Reuben was grieved, and ate no food that day. Dan therefore came to him and said, Weep not, neither grieve, for we have found what we can say to our father Jacob. Let us slay a kid of the goats, and dip in it the coat of Joseph, and let us send it to Jacob, saying, Do you recognize whether this is the coat of your son? And they did so. For they stripped off from Joseph his coat when they were selling him, and put upon him the garment of a slave. Now Simeon took the coat, and would not give it up, for he wished to rend it with his sword, as he was angry that Joseph lived, and that he had not slain him. Then we all rose up and said unto him, If you do not give up the coat, we will say to our father that you alone did this evil thing in Yashar'al. And so he gave it unto them, and they did even as Dan had said. Chapter 2. And now my children, I tell you to keep the commandments of Yahuwah and to show mercy to your neighbors, and to have compassion towards all, not towards men only, but also towards beasts. For these reasons Yahuwah blessed me, and when all my brethren were sick, I escaped without sickness, for Yahuwah knows the purposes of each man. Have therefore compassion in your hearts, my children, because whatever anyone does to his neighbor, even so also will Yahuwah do to him. For the sons of my brothers were sickly, and were dying on account of Joseph, because they showed not mercy in their hearts, but my sons were preserved free from sickness, as you know. And when I was in the land of Canaan by the sea coast, I made a catch of fish for Jacob my father, and when many were drowned in the sea, I survived unharmed. I was the first to make a boat to sail upon the sea, for Yahuwah gave me understanding and wisdom concerning it. And I let down a rudder behind it, and I stretched a sail upon another upright piece of wood in the midst. And I sailed therein along the shores, catching fish for the house of my father, until we came to Egypt. And through compassion I shared my catch with every stranger. And if a man were a traveler, or sick, or aged, I boiled the fish and dressed them well, and offered them to all men as every man had need, grieving with and having compassion upon them. Wherefore also Yahuwah satisfied me with abundance of fish when catching fish, for he that shares with his neighbor receives manifold more from Yahuwah. For 5 years I caught fish and gave thereof to every man whom I saw, and sufficed for all the house of my father. And in the summer I caught fish, and in the winter I kept sheep with my brothers. Now I will declare unto you what I did. I saw a man in distress through nakedness in winter time, and had compassion upon him, and stole away a garment secretly from my father's house, and gave it to him who was in distress. Do you, therefore, my children, from that which Elohim bestows upon you, show compassion and mercy without hesitation to all men, and give to every man with a good heart? And if you have not anything to give to him that needs, have compassion for him in bowels of mercy. For when my hand could not find the means to give to him that needed, I walked with him weeping for 7 furlongs, and my bowels yearned towards him in compassion. You also, my children, have compassion towards every man with mercy, in order that Yahuwah also may have compassion and mercy upon you. Because also in the last days Elohim will send his compassion on the earth, and wheresoever he finds bowels of mercy he dwells in him. For in the degree in which a man has compassion upon his neighbors, in the same degree has Yahuwah also upon him. For when we went down into Egypt, Joseph bore no malice against us. When he saw me, he was moved with compassion. Whomever you see, my children, approve yourselves without malice, and love one another, and do not calculate each one of you evil against his brother. For this shatters unity and divides all kindred, and troubles the soul, and wears away the countenance. Observe therefore the waters, and know when they flow together, they sweep along stones, trees, earth, and other things. But if they are divided into many streams, the earth swallows them up, and they vanish away. So shall you also be if you be divided. Be not you therefore divided into 2 heads, for everything which Yahuwah has made have but 1 head, and 2 shoulders, 2 hands, 2 feet, but all members obey 1 head. For I have learnt in the writing of my fathers that you shall be divided in Yashar'al, and you shall follow after 2 kings, and shall work every abomination, and worship every idol. And your enemies shall lead you captive, and you shall be evil entreated among the Gentiles with many infirmities and tribulations. And after these things you shall remember Yahuwah and repent, and he shall have mercy upon you, for he is merciful and compassionate. And he sets not down in account evil against the sons of men, because they are flesh, and the spirits of deceit lead them astray in all their actions. And after these things shall there arise unto you Yahuwah himself, the light of righteousness, with healing and compassion in his wings. He will liberate every captive of the sons of men from Belial, and every spirit of error will be trampled down. He will turn all nations to being zealous for him. And you shall see him in Jerusalem for his name's sake. You will provoke him to wrath by the wickedness of your works. And you shall be cast away by him unto the time of end. And now, my children, grieve not that I am dying, nor be cast down in that I am coming to my end. For I shall rise again in the midst of you, as a ruler in the midst of his sons. And I shall rejoice in the midst of my tribe, as many as shall keep the law of Yahuwah and the commandments of Zebulon their father. But upon the unrighteous shall Yahuwah bring eternal fire and destroy them throughout all generations. But I am now hastening away to my rest, as did also my fathers. But do you fear Yahuwah or love him with all your strength all the days of your life? And when he had said these things he fell asleep, at a good old age. And his sons laid him in a wooden coffin. And afterwards they carried him up, and buried him in Hebron, with his fathers.